Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. So I'm sure we've all heard the news about the Cyprus banks. They wanted a bailout and basically just got to take money out of everyone's account and totally get away with it. So, well, to that I say, to all you people who are going on about how the government were going to step in and save us from the evil banksters, I hope you feel like a sucker now. And if you don't, you will. It's going to happen. If Cyprus can do it, any of them can do it. Yours could be next. You never know. Not that I... Ugh. And it always amazes me how people pretend to be surprised by this still. I mean, really, do you honestly think we're stupid enough to believe that you're actually surprised by this? I mean, the reason why the banks have this much power has already been explained to you in full detail. In a nutshell, let's see. You got all this free stuff. You got the free interstate highways. You got the free welfare. You got the free healthcare. You got the free teachers on contracts and all this sort of stuff, and all the bailouts and all this sort of thing. Folks, where do you think that money came from? Huh? You made a deal with the devil, and the price was our financial future. And it just comes down to one simple thing. If you make a deal with the devil, who's really the bad guy? That's what I'd like to know. The devil for making you an offer and he did do exactly what he said. Oh, is he the bad guy, or are you the bad guy for agreeing to it? There's just an idea for you. But that's not the central topic today. No. Today, I'm going to tell the statists how to argue their position, how to properly argue it, because they have no idea how. No idea. Because, I've explained before, anarchism is not a solution, it is the rejection of a false solution. You're saying that statism is the way to go. I'm saying, no it isn't, it doesn't work. And then they turn around and say, well, how will it work then? I don't know yet that explanation. No. It's like saying to an atheist, demanding an atheist tell you how the universe came to be. Atheism doesn't need to tell you that, because atheism isn't claiming to know that. And I'm not claiming to know how society should be run. All I'm saying is your way sucks. So if you want to counter my arguments, if you want to prove me wrong, what you have to do is prove that statism can work. That is what you have to do to counter me. Not these nightmare scenarios, not the fear-mongering, not the how will the roads be built, because Lord knows only politicians know how to build roads and all that nonsense. No. All you have to do is explain to me how statism can work, in no uncertain terms. Because let's look at the situation right now. The status quo, the way things are right now, not an option. Not sustainable. There is no way your government can continue spending like this and keep going. If you think it can, I point you to Greece. Is that where you want to end up? I think not. So, the spending has to come down. There's no other way. It simply has to come down. And I'd like someone to explain to me how that's going to happen. Because you really need to understand what kind of an uphill battle you're looking at if you think you were going to cut spending. There was those spending cuts the U.S. government had to do, couldn't weasel out of it. Not that they didn't try. And these cuts were really not all that big in the broad scheme of things. And yet the politicians were just losing their shit over it. I mean, you see that? Oh, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be all these horrible things. We've got to fight it every chance of the way. These tiny little insignificant cuts, which, by the way, are probably not even going to end up materializing anyway. I mean, come on. They've never materialized before. Why would they start now? And they just raised a big stink about it. They fought tooth and nail. And, I mean, come on, folks. This was for a tiny little cut. Not even close to what you're going to have to actually cut to make it sustainable. By most estimates, you'd have to cut maybe $2 trillion and probably another $1 trillion to start paying off the debt. At least. At the very least. Before we can really start talking about making statism sustainable. And here's the best part. Even if you got a president in who totally stuck to his guns, if you elected Ron Paul or someone like him, and he put in the spending cuts and would not budge from them, guess what? Everyone just ignores them anyway. Yeah, it's like what Stefan Molyneux once pointed out. There was these money that was being sent to the Pentagon for these vehicles that it turns out the Pentagon didn't actually need. So George Bush ordered that the spending be cut because they didn't need it. You'd think that'd be pretty cut and dry. Guess what? The Pentagon is still getting those funds. They just ignore the orders to cut the spending anyway. And is anyone in jail for that? Because technically that's spending money that was not yours to spend. That's illegal last time I checked. Do you see anybody in jail for that? No. And as I've mentioned before, even if the government collapsed, we started with a small one and this time pledged to keep it small, how often has that worked? Even the U.S., as much as a lot of people love the founders, they were all breaking the Constitution before the ink was even dry on it. And the government was already expanding beyond its normal reach by the time Abraham Lincoln was in office. I mean, he was like, what, the second, third president? That did not take long. And this was an absolute total commitment. They had a constitution that spelled it out perfectly. Everything was in place for the small government idea to work, and it didn't even come close to working. It didn't even work for a single generation. So, statists, you need to explain to me how statism can actually work. Because the way it is right now can't work, and what you've tried before hasn't worked. So you need to explain how it can work. That is what you need to do to counter the anarchist position. Not the scaremongering, not the nightmare scenarios, not who will build the roads, not making ridiculous demands that you have never made yourself. That all you have to do is explain how statism can work. Prove that, and I am wrong. It's that easy. So, I'm waiting. Until next time, be aware and be wise.